Okay, can I get started?
Oh yeah, you can. I was going to give you an introduction.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Hi everyone, we're so glad you're here, and this is going to be a dynamic presentation with absolutely one of my favorite people, Molly from University of Arizona. She's amazing, she's poetic, and she's so informative. Thank you very much, and Molly, please.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Amy. And the sentiments are the same. You're all so lucky if Amy is your counselor. I love coming to Prospect High, as all the other schools in the district. So I'm sad that I can't see you in person, but I'm really excited that you're here today to learn about how to create the college essay. So I am part of a regional organization called the Regional Admission Counselors of California, in addition to working for the University of Arizona as a regional recruiter. So I do live in the Bay Area, and I love to come meet with students. So if you do have any questions after this presentation about how to write the college essay or about the University of Arizona, please don't hesitate to contact me. But a little bit about what RAC is. So we are regional admission counselors in an organization that has more than 173 members from over 119 universities. So basically, we all work for universities that are outside of the state of California, and we specifically work with students such as yourselves who live in the state of California. That is beneficial because we are on your time zone, we are in your backyard, and our jobs as full-time professionals are to help you with the college admissions process. So this is just one of the presentations that we like to give to introduce students to the process of writing the college essay. So let's get started. You might be wondering, why do you have to write an essay on your college application? It is a very important component of your application to an admissions committee because colleges, they want to know something about you besides just your grades, test scores, if you have them or do not have them. I know that this is a very unique year. You will find that a lot of schools are going test optional. But aside from that, the essay is really one opportunity where you can show your voice. College admission counselors get to know firsthand what it is that you want to share with us. So try not to think about this as a negative way of this is something that you have to do. It's another check mark off your list of things for an application. Try to approach it in a positive way because you really do have control over what you can share in your essay. So aside from just the college essay, writing is something that colleges are going to see more than just your essay. So it could be a short essay. Some applications will refer to it as a personal statement. And then there are also some applications that are going to require you to answer additional questions. So those are going to be supplemental questions, and those are going to vary from university to university. Other places where colleges might see your writing would be additional information sections. So sometimes students like to use this as a place to disclose maybe there's a disability that you have that you want the admissions committee to know about, anything else that you don't necessarily want to write your essay about, but you still want that information noted on your application. And then if you're applying to unique programs like College of Fine Arts, maybe it is a photography program or something that requires a portfolio. In addition to those creative components, you might also be expected to write a written form of explanation for those supplemental applications. Honors college applications are also another example of where you might have some additional essay questions that you're going to have to fill out. And then finally, the last thing that you see on this slide is emails, letters, and text messages. So you can email me, you can text me. I am available to students in a wide variety of communication formats. However, when you are texting or emailing an admissions counselor, please keep in mind that we are professionals, so try to keep that a professional communication, and also tell us your name. I have received so many emails before where a student didn't tell me who they were, and so it's difficult for us to help you if we don't know who you are. So definitely tell us what your name is, include any information that is necessary so we can look up your file if we need to. So, as I mentioned earlier, the essay, try to think of it from a positive mindset. It is an opportunity for you. So prior to working in college admissions, I was a graduate teaching fellow, and so I was a TA for undergraduate courses. And I would always tell my students when they dreaded the fact that their final exam would include an essay or would entirely be written, and they'd always say, Molly, why can't it be multiple choice? I would tell them multiple choice is going to test you on what you don't know, but an essay is an opportunity for you to show what you do know. There is no right or wrong answer to an essay. It is your interpretation of the prompt. So you really do have freedom and flexibility within the guidelines of the word limit to share what you want to share. And so that can be a very empowering thing for you as an applicant. So it is something that you can control. It is something that you can highlight. Maybe there's something about you that we definitely wouldn't know just by looking at your application in terms of the classes that you've taken in high school. Maybe you foster kittens, or you taught yourself how to play 5 different instruments. That's not going to be something that we're going to see from your grades in your high school courses. So this is also another really great time to reflect on growth during an important time in your life. I think a lot of students think that they need to be writing about something that is super profound and deep, and they've had struggles in their life. And yes, maybe you've had that, but if you haven't, that's okay too. It is a place for you to showcase your writing style and your critical thinking skills. So while the topic that you pick can be important, what's more important is about how you choose to write about it and your style of writing. Also, keep in mind that essays, they are subjective. So a lot of students will say, oh, well, what should I really be writing about? What is a good topic? That's not something that any admissions counselor can answer for you, because we all have different preferences, because we're all human. And we want you to write about what you want to write about, not what you think that we want to hear. You will be more successful in your essay and your overall application process if you are writing things that are meaningful to you, rather than doing what you think you're supposed to be doing. So many of you likely will utilize the Common Application. Many colleges use the Common Application, such as the University of Arizona and many others, and it is available right now for all of you seniors. So it opened on August 1st, and here you will see the 7 topics that are prompts for the Common Application essay, and you will have a maximum of 650 words to answer one of these topics. Topic 7, as you can see, is a topic of your choice. So if you want to write about something that you don't think fits into the other categories, then topic 7 is going to be a really great choice for you. So look at the different topics and make sure that you're addressing a topic that really is relevant to the story that you want to tell in your personal statement. Then many of you are likely going to apply to the UCs. That is not a mystery. You're in California. The UC system is a wonderful system. I myself am an alumna of the UC system, so these are popular. And this system, you are going to have 8 questions to choose from, and you will only be able to respond to 4 of them. So definitely look them over, choose the 4 that fit best for you. Don't worry about, oh, is this the most popular one? Oh, are the admission counselors going to be tired of reading prompts number 2? Pick the prompts that work for you, and then you will have a maximum of 350 words per prompt. So one technique that you could try is just getting everything out, stream of consciousness on paper, write what you want to say, and then go back later and edit down and really look line by line. Do I need this word? Is this necessary to get my point across? So you can narrow that down to the 350 word maximum. One thing to keep in mind, I do not work for the UC system, nor do any of my colleagues in RAC, but we do include this slide in this presentation because we know that the students we're working with, you're likely going to also be applying to UCs. So definitely just keep in mind, choose the prompts that are relevant to you and your experience and that best reflect your individual circumstances. So I mentioned a little bit earlier supplemental questions. So you might see these on the Common Application for a specific university, and they are like mini essays, I suppose you could say, because they are going to be shorter writing samples than the overall main essay, but they're also equally as important. So definitely don't think that it's something that you should just, you know, write and not think or look over twice. These are things where you should talk about a specific university. If a university is asking you, why do you want to go to this university? You should definitely be doing some research about that school, being able to reference things that that university can provide you that no other school can, and explaining why it is that you think you would be a good fit for that school. A really great way to learn about unique programs and facts about universities, RAC, on our YouTube channel. We do have 5-minute intro videos where you can learn more about our universities. So if you haven't checked that out, that's another resource for you that could help with supplemental questions. And then, like the third bullet point says, like essays, answer the ones that come easily to you first. So get those ideas out on paper and then go back and work on the ones that might be a little bit more difficult for you, but definitely do not wait until the last minute. When I was in high school, I remember I finished my college personal statements before Thanksgiving break because I wanted to enjoy my break, and I want you all to enjoy your break too. So the fact that you're even listening to this presentation today is a really good sign that you are on a really great path towards working on those college essays. Maybe some of you have already written them, you've already started thinking about it. So just thank you for being here. That is really going to help you in the long run. And then don't repeat what you have already said. So obviously, if you have another opportunity to answer a supplemental question, use this to give more information about yourself, more of a reason for an admissions committee to admit you, rather than repeating something that they can already learn about you from another part of your application. Okay, so here are some examples of some supplemental prompts that you might receive. So like I said, some universities, they're going to ask you, well, why our school? Why should we admit you to this specific school? So definitely do your research about the schools that you're applying to. And then the give us your top 10 list. So this isn't just something where you should be listing the colleges. Think about, what is it that, why did you choose these schools? What factors do they have in common? This is also a really great prompt to demonstrate your thinking and how you process things and kind of explain your thought process during your college application search when you're choosing schools to apply to. And it also is a great opportunity to tell admissions committees a little bit about yourself and why you're a good fit for these kinds of schools. Then you can see some other ones. Some prompts, they might be very strange, like if you could be chosen to be raised by robots, dinosaurs, or aliens, who would you pick and why? Honestly, I don't even know where I would begin with that. So think about these questions early on if you do get some strange ones. Or some universities, they're going to have very flexible prompts. The University of Arizona, for instance, if you're writing an essay on our application, it basically is just asking you, do you have anything else you'd like to share? And you have 500 words to do so. So read the prompt carefully, read what it is that they're asking you, and make sure that you do not go over the word count. Then other writing samples. So I kind of touched on this earlier when I was mentioning how if you're emailing your admissions counselor or texting them, these are also ways that we can learn more about you and your writing style. So definitely make sure that you maintain a level of professionalism. But some other ones, additional information sections. So the common application this year, they actually do have a section where you can disclose information about COVID-19. So if the pandemic has negatively affected you or had a really serious impact on your life and your family, you don't have to spend your personal statement section writing about that. You can use the additional information disclosure section. That way it's not taking up your whole essay, because we know that the pandemic, this has been less than a year, but for the past 17 or 18 years, you've been doing really great things with your lives that we want to know about. So don't feel like you have to write about the pandemic for your essay when you have that extra section. Also, as I mentioned earlier, artistic portfolios, you might have to write something for those as well. So look at those prompts and applications in advance so you can start to think about that. And again, I can't stress it enough, emails and texts, please use your names. Please don't put your entire email in the subject line of an email. Put it in the body of the email, and that will serve you well when interacting with admissions counselors. Okay, so common topics that admissions counselors often see on essays. This might be obvious to you or maybe not. Sports injuries, that is a super popular one, or illness. Childhood anecdotes are also popular, stories about traveling, stories that can come across kind of as having a preachy tone, broad conclusions, things where students are using sweeping generalizations like, all my life I have wanted to be a doctor, or ever since I was little I knew that I wanted to be a pharmacist, or whatever it is. And then the parents' woe is me. Sometimes students will write papers portraying their parents in a negative light, or they'll write about community service. That's not to say that you should avoid these topics. It just means that they are common, so we want you to be aware of that. But if you do choose to write about one of these topics, make sure that it's really unique to you. Focus on demonstrating your voice, your writing style, and make sure that that story is something that only you can tell. So if an admissions counselor does read 3 sports injury essays in a row, that yours is really going to stand out because you were very specific in making it personalized to you. So how to avoid mistakes. I am sure that many of you, when you're writing papers for your English classes or other humanities-based courses in high school, you're proofreading your papers before you're turning them in. You're spending time on them. College is a really big deal, and you've been working hard to reach this point, so definitely put the time and effort into reading over your paper to make sure that you're avoiding mistakes that you could easily avoid. So some ways to avoid those mistakes. Do not assume that readers have the same opinions and experiences as you. So for instance, if an admissions counselor is reading your paper and they are 50 years older than you, they grew up in a different generation, they might not be familiar with the same lingo or phrases that you're using, or even life experiences. So keep in mind, make sure that your essay is, don't assume that they're going to know everything that you know. Assume that the person who is reading your essay doesn't know what you're talking about. And sometimes it's difficult for us to kind of take a step away from our own writing because what we know ourselves, it's so ingrained in our minds. So it is helpful to have someone else read your personal statement. If you have an older sibling, they can be super helpful. I know that I used my older sister to help me with my essays and giving me feedback on what parts made sense and, you know, maybe you should change this. So if you have siblings, they're great. Family members, teachers, high school counselors, really anyone that can kind of give you a second set of eyes to look over your paper is helpful. And then make sure that you remove school names when going to multiple institutions. So what I mean by this is if you are applying to the University of Oregon and you say at the end of your paper, and this is why I want to go to the University of Alaska, obviously the Oregon Admissions Committee is going to know that you used the same essay for multiple universities and you did not take that out. That's not to say that you can't use the same essay for multiple universities, but make sure that you don't make that mistake. Because that is very easily avoidable, and yes, just proofread. And don't forget the basics. Review your grammar and your content. Keep in mind that spell check in Microsoft Word, it doesn't always pick up everything. So you will not only want to rely on that, but rely on yourself to really read through something carefully and make sure that you're confident when you turn it in that it is good to go. So here are some really great examples of mistakes that Microsoft Word spell check and grammar check is not going to help you with. So for instance, the first one, does anyone notice anything wrong about that? I recall with great fondness the many hours my brother and I spent hunting peasants. I hope that you and your brother were not hunting peasants. That would be awful. So obviously the word here is supposed to be pheasants, but because peasants is a real word, your Word doc is not going to pick up on that in the spell check process. Another example, so the second one, I never personally experienced death until my grandfather died. What is wrong with that? The experiencing death personally, it makes it sound like you yourself have died. So be sure to check syntax, check the way that you're structuring your sentences as well, because again, this is something that your computer might not pick up on. And then the third one, I have made the horror roll every semester. Maybe that's a thing at your school, but chances are you're talking about the honor roll. So definitely don't forget to check over your statements before you turn them in. Then some other tips to remember. So sometimes when I'm reading students' essays and maybe it's an essay workshop and I'm providing feedback, a student will have all this really great content, but the way that they've structured their statement doesn't necessarily provide the hook that they need. So get the reader hooked in your paper from the beginning. One way that you can do this is to be kind of ambiguous within your first or second sentence, but by the end of that first paragraph, or maybe the very beginning of the second paragraph, your reader knows exactly what you're talking about. So this is a really great way to get the interest of a reader, so they're thinking, huh, what are they talking about? And then by the time they get to that second paragraph, they say, oh, that is so clever. So I love papers that start like that, but again, every admissions counselor is different. So what I prefer, maybe someone else doesn't, but the rule to note is get the reader hooked early on. The more passionate you are about your topic and how you choose to describe that, the more excited the person reading your paper is going to be. And that is definitely true. I have read papers about things that you might consider mundane, like shopping for Christmas decorations, but the way in which the student writes it is what makes it really memorable and interesting. Make your points quick. So that's kind of similar to what I was saying about your hook in the beginning. Make sure that you hook your reader as soon as you can and give yourself time to talk about you. So try not to spend your entire paper narrating a story, because the most important part of that story is going to kind of be your reflection on that experience in your life. So really make sure that you're focusing on you. Another thing to keep in mind, make sure that your topic, it's about you and not someone else. That's not to say that you can't talk about someone who's had a major impact in your life in your personal statement, but there's a fine line between the essay becoming entirely about maybe your aunt and not necessarily you. So again, this is not the time to be modest. It is about you, so focus on yourself. And then be conscious of word count. Like I said earlier, you can definitely just write and write and write and then go back and edit later, but make sure that when you turn that in, that you were not over the word count. Also, consider how many essays an admissions counselor will read in a day, a week, a year. If you're applying to a popular school that gets 50,000 applications, that admissions counselor is going to be reading thousands of essays. They are not going to have 20, 30 minutes to read your paper. They might have 5 minutes max. So you really want to make a strong impact in a short amount of time. And the reader, again, I've said this many times and I will say it again, we want to know about you. So make sure that it is about you. And show, don't tell. And I'm going to show you on this slide how to show and not tell. So for example, the first section on the left side, rather than just saying, I'm a hardworking and curious student, you could give a specific example. So for here, it says, after devouring hours of CNN and every New York Times article on the election, I decided to get involved with local politics in my community. For the month leading up to the election in 2012, I spent 2 hours per day knocking on doors with local nonprofits, and so forth. So you get the point there. So you're not saying that you're hardworking, but I can clearly tell that you are based on the content that you're providing in this specific example. The other one, I love to dance and I'm good at it. Rather than just saying that, give us a specific example. I have been competing in competitions for over 15 years. I won the regional championship. Whatever it is, that's a better example than just saying that you love to dance and that you're good at it. Okay, so kind of wrapping it up. Consider the essay in context of the entire application. How does it contribute to telling your story? So look at what else you're including on your application, whether it's your activities resume or your grades, and make sure that you're trying to tell the most complete and whole story of yourself that you can. And we recognize that this is difficult. It's not an easy process because there are so many things that I'm sure you all could write about, and having to choose just 1 or 4 out of 8 prompts, it can be difficult. But really remember that this is an opportunity to share your voice. I'm sure that many of you have your own distinctive writing style. Really let that come through. Unlike a formal academic research paper, this is a personal statement. So you can take some more creative liberties with this kind of writing than you would be able to in a formal academic paper. Also, it allows the institution to see how you will fit into their campus community. This is something that you can research by looking at what kinds of students are at a school and seeing if it's a good fit for you. And then lastly, enjoy the process, or at least try to. If you're the kind of student that hates writing papers and you love tests, or you just really hate writing, keep in mind that this is just one component of the application. There are other ways that admissions counselors can evaluate you, whether that's based on your grades or your extracurricular activities. So try not to worry too much if writing isn't your strong suit. Start early and give it your best shot, so that way when you do turn your application in, you'll feel confident that you did your best and you'll have no regrets. And for those of you, if you really, really hate writing essays, I have great news to share for you. Not every university requires an essay on their application. So the University of Arizona, for instance, if you don't want to write an essay, you can be admitted without writing an essay. So we are an essay optional school. So when looking for schools to apply to, you can also ask admissions counselors or look on their website to see if that's something that they require. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you so much for attending and listening to me. Again, because I am part of RAC and I am our communications chair, I do manage our YouTube channel. So if you liked this presentation, we actually do have other presentations that you can view on our YouTube channel. You can find all of the links to our social media on our website, regionaladmissions.com. And we have been doing webinars throughout the summer, and we will continue to do those in the fall. So definitely check us out on social media if you want to see more. So thank you so much, and I will pass it over to Amy to let's answer some questions.
Thank you so much, Molly. Okay, I'm going to stop recording now.
Okay.
So that